Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope I'm looking in the right spot. So, we just got done reading about the Maccabees last time. Now, that was so good. I like me a good action. I'm so sorry it happened in real life, but it was amazing. It's amazing to know how the Jewish people defend themselves, and their biggest weapon that they have is not the Iron Dome. It's their voices in unison, crying out to Hashem and engaging with their faith in these battles. I mean, whoa. Okay, so we're going to read. We're going to use the A Concise Guide to Halacha. It's written by Rabbi Even Israel Steinsaltz, and it's an overview of Jewish law. It's meant to. I'll read what it says in the back. It succinctly outlines the fundamental commonplace requirements of Jewish law: interpersonal mitzvot, keeping kosher, Shabbat, family purity, prayer, holidays. That's where we're focused at this time. And life cycle events, written in modern, accessible language. Rabbi Even Israel Steinsaltz simplified guidebook makes it easily to find the information you need. And I would say it's written for maybe a Jew. He's writing for his people. Maybe a Jew who doesn't quite know why they're doing what they're doing. Or maybe they were secular and they just did not choose to operate with Israel, and they need to know how to do things. So he'll have in here prayers and all the prayers that will go for the holiday or that day, or the life cycle events, like how to handle marriage and stuff. And we'll go a little bit more into this book. But I just wanted to focus on the Hanukkah part. So this Hanukkah, so we can see what some of the halakha, what are some of the requirements that Israel must do for this dedication, Hanukkah, of lights, the season of lights. So I'm going to read the intro. So he says, the holiday of Hanukkah lasts for 8 days. Oh, I would like to dedicate the shiur to Rav Stephen Bernstein. He made sure that we focused, every holiday he made sure we focused on, and this is no different. Even though it's not in the chapter of holidays in Leviticus 23, it's still something that he made sure we knew because Israel does it. And so I'd like to dedicate this to him for sure. My mother, Iris Elizabeth Roke, and also my grandmother, my other grandmother, Carrie Lean Roke. Who would you like to dedicate this shiur to? May all of their memories be for a blessing. So, I would like to dedicate to Rabbi Even Israel Steinsaltz. He passed away not too long ago, so we want to remember him as well. May his memory be for a blessing as we using the works that he gave us. So the holiday of Hanukkah lasts for 8 days. It's celebrated by lighting candles. It begins on the 25th of the month of Kislev, and it commemorates the victory of the Jews led by Matityahu and his sons and priests from Moedim over the Greeks during the second temple period around 170 BCE. The Greek king Antiochus IV had issued many decrees against the Jews with the aim of uprooting the central mitzvot of the Torah, the central commandments of the Torah, and assimilating Jews into Greek culture. Matityahu and his sons, known as Hasmoneans, overcame the more numerous and powerful Greeks. They then liberated Jerusalem and other parts of the land of Israel. Afterward, they purified the temple and removed all idolatrous images that the Greeks had placed there. After the miraculous victory in battle, another miracle occurred regarding the lighting of the candelabrum, the menorah, in the temple. Since the Greeks had defiled the oil that was in the temple, the Hasmoneans were able to find only a single cruse of ritually pure oil that the priests made that met all the commandments of this kind of oil that you could use. They only had enough to light the menorah for 1 day, only 1 day. So a miracle occurred, and they were able to light the menorah with the oil from this cruse for 8 days. To commemorate this miracle, we light candles for 8 days. These two Hanukkah miracles have a common aspect, namely the triumph of quality over quantity and the spiritual over the material. Another reason for the 8 days of Hanukkah is that the Hasmoneans held an inauguration for the renewed temple and the altar for 8 days, as was done in the first temple after its construction by King Solomon. So the first time this happened was with King Solomon, and you can find that in 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 66. But this section will discuss the laws of Hanukkah, its central mitzvah of the lighting of the candles, its prayers and its blessings, and other customs relevant to this holiday. I'm going to tell you, this book is part of a 5-part series. I think each book is about $35, but it's really well worth it. We're going to read through Hanukkah to see why you might want to have this in your library if you're looking to understand the mitzvot and the customs of Israel. Okay, so the first thing we're going to start with is candle lighting. So the mitzvah of candle lighting on Hanukkah is designed to memorialize and publicize this miracle of the cruse of oil. So in order to fulfill the mitzvah completely, several halachic guidelines must be observed. Halacha is the law that says how to do, when something needs to be done and how to do it. And everybody follows the law, this halacha. In Israel. So these relate to a number of how many candles you're going to use, who's going to light the candles, the location, where do you put the menorah to show this public, because it's got to be public somehow, and the Hanukkah, so instead of a menorah, it's called a Hanukkah, is used. So what are you going to use for fuel of the candles? What are you going to use for the wicks? How are you going to, the order of the lighting of the candles, and the duration for which the candles must be lit. So how long do they stay lit? Okay, so these are the halacha, these are the laws we're going to focus on the menorah, which they have that menorah for Hanukkah, and they call it the Hanukkah. So, okay, so regarding the number of candles, so the basic minimal requirement for the mitzvah as instituted by the sages, so these commandments, if you will, are rabbinic commandments. So we're learning that first. So the rabbis they've come to agreement to dictate how Israel will now celebrate this holiday called Hanukkah. So this is what they are these are what they're telling Israel to do. You're going to light one candle in each household on each of the 8 nights of Hanukkah. And one may indeed fulfill this mitzvah, this command, in this manner if there are no available alternatives. Nevertheless, the universal custom is to observe the more enhanced version of the mitzvah, meaning on the first night of the holiday, one candle is lit, and on each subsequent night, another candle is lit until on the 8th night, all candles are lit. It's prohibited to use Hanukkah candles for one's own needs, meaning as reflected in the declaration of Hanukkah Halacha. So it's called these candles. It's recited after lighting of the candles. We don't have permission to use them, but only see them. This is because of their lighting. It should be solely for the sake of the mitzvah and not for one's personal benefit. So you don't, it's so hilarious. So you don't take the candelabra, or however you want to call it, the Hanukkah, and maybe you got to study for your physics exam or something, and you put that thing close to you, you put it close to your book so you can see really well. I mean, now it's kind of funny because we have electricity, but back in the day, folk was like, I got a test to study for, and this will do. So you don't light the candles for your own personal benefit. Candlelight is not generally used for lighting nowadays when rooms are lit by electrical lights. Oh, here it goes. But in earlier generations, when candles were lit in order to see at night, there was a concern that people might use the Hanukkah candles for illumination. Therefore, it became customary to add an extra candle, which is called the shamash, or the attendant. This candle is used for lighting other candles, after which it is placed next to them. If one subsequently does not use the light of the menorah for personal purposes, it's considered that it is a shamash, and not the candles which one fulfills the mitzvah that provides a light. So I think you'll see on the Hanukkah 9, it should be a servant candle that has its own little stand, and then sometimes it's in the middle, usually, I guess. It might be below or the other ones because it's a servant candle, and you use that candle to light the other candles. And so it should be 9 total, I believe, 8 on one side, 8 on the other for one day with that servant candle. Okay. All right. So according to the Sephardic custom, only the head of the household lights the Hanukkah candles, and all the members of the household, including those who are not at home at the time, fulfill their obligation through his lighting. So the head of the house, even if somebody's not home yet, if he lights that candle, it's as if all of them have lit that candle and completed that mitzvot. By contrast, in the Ashkenazic custom, for each of the members of the household, light candles in the separate menorah. Wow. So at the end of the day, someone's lighting a menorah. Women also have to fulfill the mitzvah of the Hanukkah candles. So some have the custom where they light candles themselves, while other married women, they might do that through the head of the family, like the Sephardic custom. Okay, so now this is about the place of lighting. So the ideal location of the menorah is outside the home because it's supposed to be a public display of celebrating this holiday. So next, preferably outside the home, next to the entrance from the street house, next to the entrance from the street to the house, or from the street to the courtyard that leads to the home, in order to publicize the miracle in the public domain, so everybody can see it. The menorah is placed on the left side of the doorway from the perspective of one entering the doorway. I mean, they're going into details now about the height of the location of it. In order that the wind should not extinguish the candles, it's recommended to place the menorah inside a clear enclosure that will protect it from the wind and at the same time allow the burning candles to be seen. Such items can be found in shops that sell religious objects and such as so you can see the detail that the halacha has so that the person knows how to fulfill it out. It's not feasible to place a lit menorah outside the doorway for any reason, such as opposition from neighbors who fear of vandalism, theft, or anti-Semitic harassment. One may light the candles inside the house. So if you think you got some ruffian neighbors that's anti-Semitic, or they'll kick it over or defile it and make it like you'll get harassed over it, then it said don't put it outside, put it in your house. And those who others put the menorah on the table. So those who maintain that since Jews were unable for many generations to display the menorah in public, one should not. So anybody who says you shouldn't put that in public, one should not deviate from this time-honored custom even nowadays, and the lighting should take place inside the house. So, if that was your custom, whatever, just keep doing that. Okay. One should light the Hanukkah candles in a place where he will be sleeping that night. So in the house that you're sleeping, not in your room. So consequently, if during Hanukkah one spends a night away from home, he should light where he stays that night. So if you're on a business trip, you better have a little traveling Hanukkah with you. But if you don't arrive at home, or if you're not at home and the location where you're staying overnight until later evening, he can have one of his household. Okay, so if you're going to be back, you can have somebody light it in your honor at home. And it has to be lit by a certain time. Okay, the fuel and the wicks. So all fuels and wicks are valid for Hanukkah candles, even if they burn for the time necessary to fulfill the commandment, as detailed below. It's therefore permitted to use solid wax candles, which produce a beautiful and stable flame. But it's important to ensure that the candles are large enough to last for the required duration of the mitzvah, especially on the eve of Shabbat. So you see that below. Notwithstanding the above information we just gave, since the Hanukkah miracle occurred with olive oil, it is preferable to use this oil. Additionally, olive oil produces a nice flame, and in order to light with the oil, one must procure receptacles into which oil can be poured and all that stuff. Now, the time of the lighting. Since the main aim of the candle lighting on Hanukkah is to publicize the miracle, one should light the candle at an hour that their light is visible, and people will see them, that their candle lights would be visible. So you can't do it like high noon. Therefore, the Hanukkah candle should be lit when it gets dark, about a half hour after sunset. The candles must remain lit for at least half an hour until the candles must remain lit for at least half an hour after they were lit. So that's why the size of the candle makes sense, because it has to last at least a half hour. One may light the candles until that time so you can keep it lit until the last passerbyers walk down your street. In Talmudic times, it was assumed to be an hour after sunset. Nowadays, when people continue to walk in the streets for later than that, if one did not light an ideal time, he might still light the candles as long as there are other people outside. Okay, now let's talk about if Shabbat Eve. So on the eve of Shabbat, one should light the candles just before the time for lighting the Shabbat candles. So if one of the 8 days, and it will fall on the Shabbat, you're going to light that Hanukkah candle first, and then the Shabbat candles, because after the Shabbat candle, you can't light a fire, because that's considered work. So the Hanukkah candle has to be lit first, then the Shabbat candle, Then you continue on with your Shabbat service and all the other stuff. Okay, so burn about till the hour after lighting the Hanukkah candles. One lights the Shabbat candles. So after Shabbat. So on Saturday night, it's customary to light the Hanukkah candles after Havdalah. So that's the part of the Shabbat that you perform to say it's the end of the Shabbat and now you're going into the next day. The start of the, I don't want to say Sunday, but it's the end of the Shabbat on Saturday. The sun has gone down, and thus starts the new day according to Judaism. According to God, that's how it is in the Genesis. So it's customary to light the Hanukkah candles after you do the Havdalah, closing out the Shabbat. So you close out the Shabbat, then you light the Hanukkah candle. Some light beforehand immediately upon returning home from evening prayer service. So one who lights the candles before Havdalah, they must be careful to recite the version of Havdalah found on the fourth blessings of the evening Amidah. Okay, so there's some ways of that. Now we have a little picture here. It's called the procedure of lighting the candles. You can see here, here's the first day. You get the one candle, and then you get the second candle. See how it looks like they keep moving the candles in. So that's how the procedure of lighting. So on the first night of the holiday, the candle should be placed on the right side of the menorah, and the shamesh within its designated place. The shamesh is in the middle. See that there? That's lit. And then you proceed in. That's the servant candle. And then on the second night, 2 candles are placed in the night of the menorah. On the third night, 3 candles are placed, and you just keep working. And when you light a candle, you're going to recite following the blessings. I'm going to say it in a way that it's not, let me see. I can say it in English. So you're going to say, blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who sanctified us through his commandments and commanded us to light the Hanukkah candle. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who performed miracles for our forefathers in those days and in those seasons. And then on the first night that you have the Shehayanu blessing, you're going to say, blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has given us life and sustained us and brought us to this time. So after you say it, so every night you're going to say these blessings as you light those lights. And you're going to have looks like you got some songs that you can sing. Nerot Halalu, which is these candles, and it's found in most prayer books. Also, many communities sing it, and they sing the song Me'oz Dur, which is called Refuge, Rock. It tells of God's salvation of the Jewish people over generations. And if one is staying at a friend's house and he wishes to fulfill this obligation of lighting the candles through his friend's lighting, he must give him at least a token sum of money in order to share the cost of the candles. This allows the lighting to count for him as well. Wow. So you can just see how detailed these halakha are. It's not just somebody just pulls up and with some Walmart candles and goes to town. It's everything in its order. Many women have the custom not to do work, especially housework, while the Hanukkah candles are burning. One of the reasons for this practice is the prominent role that women played in the miracle of Hanukkah. This is demonstrated by the story of Judith, who gained access to the enemy camp and killed a Greek general. That's another good story. Also in the Apocrypha, we did not read that one this year, but maybe we'll do that next year, because that's pretty cool. Okay, this section is called Prayer and Blessing. So the focus of Hanukkah is on giving thanks for the miracle and publicizing it. Among other commemorations, the sages instituted that the miracle should be noted in the holiday prayers and in the blessings recited on these days. So it's going to go into in the Amidah prayers of Hanukkah. So every day you say the Amidah 3 times a day. And it's for the, you're actually commemorating the sacrifices that took place on the temple. Since the Kohanim there's no temple and they cannot do these sacrifices, the Jewish people use their voices again in one accord. They say these prayers at set times together to heaven to commemorate these sacrifices that were supposed to take place daily. And sometimes all the times these sacrifices will fall on holidays. So you'll have your normal prayer, but I'll have a little special variation to commemorate whatever holiday it falls on. So that's what they're talking about now. You have an Amidah prayer of the Hanukkah, including the Shabbat prayer, the Musaf prayer. So it'll be like an additional prayer, a Rosh Chodesh prayer, so a new month starts. You got all kind of things happening on there. So, okay, so they're prayers. Now, this is about the Torah reading. So, on each day of the Hanukkah, the Torah is read, following the recitation of the Hallel in the synagogue. So, the passages selected for these readings describe the offerings of the tribal princes that were brought on the inauguration of the tabernacle. That's in Numbers chapter 6, verse 22 through chapter 8, verses 4. So, they take the prayers from when the tabernacle, the Mishkan, was dedicated. And it does say it was Hanukkah, and yet they use that to read that during the Hanukkah holiday. It's really cool. And on the 8th day of Hanukkah, the reading includes offerings of the tribal princes that have not yet been read, as well as a subsequent section. Because it's Hanukkah's 8 days, so I guess maybe the last 4 guys they get that last 4 tribes, they get that part read. And then the opening verses of the Torah portion of Beha'alotecha, which discusses how the candelabrum, the menorah, was lit in the tabernacle. The 8th day is sometimes called Zot Hanukkah, after the first words of the summary of the offerings. Zot Hanukkah means this is the dedication of the altar, and you find that in number 7, verse 84. Okay. And this is the last part here. We're doing on time. Okay, additional customs. So over the years, several Hanukkah customs have become widely accepted in many Jewish communities. Here's some examples. Milk and oil. So it's customary to eat certain foods on Hanukkah. Dairy foods are eaten because, according to the tradition, Judith served milk to the Greek general and to make him drowsy before she killed him. It is also customary. This story is almost like Yael in the book of Judges, Yael with Cicero, but I don't think so I'm going to keep all what I heard from the sages out of it, but it's something similar to that where the general Cicero trusted Yael and he rested in her tent and she got him good and relaxed, and when he was sleeping or whatever, then she takes a tent peg to his head and kills him. This story with Judith is something quite similar. It happens very differently how she does it, but it's still that idea. This lady is able to get into this area where the top commander is and kill him. That's the point. So, but when she served him milk, same like Elle, she served Cicero milk. And so anyway, just because of that, it's customary to eat foods fried in oil, such as potato pancakes, latkes, and jelly donuts. This is done to commemorate the miracle of the oil, fried food. Gotta love the Jews on that one. Okay, Hanukkah gelt. Now, it's customary to give children money, called Hanukkah gelt. Okay, gelt is German for money. Geld, actually, geld with a D, geld, but it's gonna sound like gelt. So I guess in Yiddish they took that word and it means money. So they're saying it's customary to give children money, called Hanukkah geld. And the source of this custom is apparently rooted in the practice of parents sending money with their children for their teachings during Hanukkah. Over time, children asked to be given some money for themselves as well. Oh my gosh! So they're supposed to get a Hanukkah lesson and take the money over to the teacher, and the children are like, yeah, let me get $5 for giving that man $10. Whatever its source, this custom has gained wide acceptance because it makes the children happy and thus makes Hanukkah more exciting and memorable. It's also worthwhile to take advantage of this custom to educate children in the giving of charity by teaching them to give some of the money they have received to charity. I don't know if the Spartans do it, but I know in just here and around Christmas time, you'll see the little because Christmas usually tend to be around Hanukkah. They tend to be around the same, at least in the same month. I don't know. You get that little gold foil chocolate, and it would come in a little red or some kind of like plastic little bags, and you get this little money. That's what that geld is. That money, and you use that to play dreidel, and you. Now we wasn't Jews, But we learned how to play dreidel in school, and dreidel is gambling. All right, let me stop. Oh, look, the next part is called dreidel. So during the holidays, it's customary to play games, especially with a spinning top called the dreidel, or sevivon in Hebrew. Many explanations have been given for this custom. One of the most commonly cited ideas is that when Jewish children wanted to study, they studied Torah during that time, that the ruling authorities decreed that it was forbidden to study Torah. Wow. They would have dreidels in their possession, and then when the Greeks came to see what they were doing, they would act as though they were merely playing games with dreidels. Wow. The ruling authorities decreed that it was forbidden. So the Greeks or whoever said you can't study Torah. So they learned how to study with using the dreidel. And each side got like a letter on it, a Hebrew letter on it. And it means something. And depending on which letter it is, you might have to put in, that's the gambling part. I don't know what it means. You can put it down below what it means. Like, I'm sure it has some beautiful meaning. But for us, I think if you put down a shin, you get 2 coins. If you put down, I forget how the letters were, and you get a hey, you got to take a coin, and then at the end, it's a whoever has the most coins wins. Like Hanukkah, I don't know. That's just how we do. That's why we need Israel to keep us straight. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Like some of the things that you have to do in Hanukkah, and I hope that helped you understand when you're saying. When in Western thought, how we understand what the law is, look at that's the law. Like that's okay. You commemorate, put a menorah out, make sure it's over here. Listen, if you got violent, crazy neighbors or some anti-Semites in your neighborhood, do this with the light. Okay, so this and that and this. Okay, make sure the light lasts for at least a half an hour after you light it. And that's the law. Does that sound so bad? No, it's just things to keep Israel working as one unit, saying the blessings at the same time, doing the same customs, coming together in the synagogue to commemorate however they do it. The man of the house lighting the candle, who represents everybody, or whatever the thing is. Like if you're traveling, this is what you're gonna do. Try to have Hanukkah with your friends, or use maybe at the synagogue they might have something for you so you can complete the mitzvah of lighting the light. This is beautiful stuff. So I hope you enjoyed that. I did, learning about what Israel does for Hanukkah season, and I will see you next time.